Tony, what's up, brother? So nice to have you, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it. I'm excited to share some good stuff here.
Yeah, man. Quick welcome to everybody that's going to be viewing this. Tony, Javier, and we've gotten the chance to know each other now over the last year. Tony not only has been flipping and selling homes for, quite a few years, but he's also now runs 10X TV media company. I'm going to have him kind of talk a lot more about that. But over the last year of getting to know Tony a lot more, it's become painfully obvious that the dude knows his stuff in the marketing space and certainly how to get investors more opportunities. Thought it'd be a great opportunity for you to come on here, man, and just kind of share with our audience a little bit more about the wisdom you've uncovered. So love to kind of give you the stage and you can kind of go through everything that you're doing with 10x TV because I think there's some like really cool things that are in there. And quite honestly, the one big thing for me is how accessible it is as a marketing channel, which I think you actually only shared with me a couple days ago. I think that's just there's a lot of low hanging fruit for people that might be thinking about getting into that space. I'll let you kind of take it from there, Tony.
Cool, sounds good. Let me share my screen here. So what I'm going to do today is talk to you about how to 10x your marketing with TV commercials. TV commercials was the probably the biggest thing that I've done in my real estate investing business. In fact, when I do podcasts, when I do interviews and things like that, people ask me if I could do something back in the beginning. By the way, it's been 25 years now when I started. So 2001 is when I started. And people say, what is the thing that you would do differently starting off? And all the time I say I would join a mastermind and I would start TV commercials sooner. TV commercials are the top two things that I've done in my business on top, along with masterminds and things of that nature. It's something that's put me on the map, built a ton of credibility for my business. In fact, I've been in the business long enough that I've seen so many different marketing channels stop working. And I tell people all the time that like, if it weren't for TV commercials, there's a potential at some point that I may have just quit the business because it's just gotten so competitive over the years. And I've seen a lot of people go out of business over the years just because of all the competition. So if you want to stick out from the competition, you want to do things, or you want to get above the competition, you have to do things that the competition's not doing. And one of those things is TV commercials. So I'm excited to share with you my journey and how I got into TV and how you could potentially as well. So I'm going to share with you 5 things today, and Jared, jump in at any point in time if you have any questions, if there's anything that I'm missing here, or there's anything that the audience may want to know. But I'm going to share with you today the top benefits of TV commercials. So I think some of you guys probably know those benefits, the credibility, celebrity status, and things of that nature. But there are some that a lot of you probably don't know and don't quite understand. How TV is not just branding, it's more affordable than most people think. How to build celebrity status in your market and get deals no one knows about. And how to streamline TV commercials. And I also may get into OTT, AI, and billboards. I get a lot of questions about streaming and AI and things of that nature. So I'll kind of touch on that hopefully later in this presentation. All right, so why do most people not do TV commercials? I get that a lot. They're like, man, if TV's so great, why is everybody not doing it? Well, I'm going to cover the top, 3, 4, 5 reasons that most investors don't do TV. And the great thing about this is that there's not a lot of competition because of these things. So the first one is it's too expensive. When I got on TV, I'll tell the story a little bit later. I thought it would be tens of thousands of dollars a month to be on TV, right? That's the perception, is you have to have a lot of money to be on TV. I started with $3,000 back in 2012 and was able to 10x my investment the first month. Today, it's a little bit more expensive, for 5 to 7 grand in most markets. In most markets, you can actually get started, not just with TV commercials, but hundreds of TV commercials with a light ad spend. And it's mainly because of all the data that we have, that we're able to get so many commercials, and I'll kind of dive into that a little bit later. My business is too small. A lot of people think that their business is just way too small for this. I was talking to you, Jared, the other day, and you said, who is this for? And it's, a lot of our clients that come on board with us are doing a lot of deals. They're doing anywhere from, 3 to 5 deals a month to 20 plus deals a month, right? So the bigger the business, the better it probably is for TV. But I have an investor that I shared with you, Jared, that started with us that was working full time, was wanting to do real estate part time, started texting and cold calling, had done like maybe a deal or two, was just kind of running around with her head cut off. And she came to us as a new investor, only done a couple deals. And here, 4 years later, she's still doing TV commercials, and she just opened up her second market with us. And so you don't have to be like a huge brand. You don't have to be doing 10 plus deals a month. A lot of people think that when someone's on TV, they're typically a big, big brand. And that's not always the case. Now you've seen all those big brands, the Frosted Flakes and the Magically Delicious, all the cereal commercials, these big companies that are on TV, but you do not have to be one of those businesses. I don't know where to start. That is probably one of the number one reasons that a lot of people don't do TV is they're like, okay, TV's great. Where do I start? How do I do it? And they think it's this big lift, right? And it is if you do it on your own. You've got to figure out what stations and shows to be on. You have to figure out what scripting to put together and what sounds good. You have to know who to trust when you're buying the media from them. You have to be able to make sure all the TV commercials are aired by looking at the post-production reports. There's just a lot to it. Who films the commercial? Who produces the commercial, right? And so I'm going to show you how easily with us that you can get started and be on TV within about 30 days. And then maybe many people think TV is just branding. I'm going to tell you a story later about when I thought that TV was just branding. A lot of people think that, again, you spend tens of thousands of dollars a month potentially, and it's just for branding to get recognition. But it's not just for branding. It's for actual direct response where sellers call you. And it even happens like day one, week one, it's especially month one, where you have people coming to you wanting to sell, and you're most likely doing deals very quickly. And then people say, isn't TV dying? There's a lot of streaming platforms. There's, just a ton of platforms, right, that are streaming. And the great thing about our demographic, and I'll get into this again later, is that we are hitting the older demographic. We are hitting the demographic that grew up with TV, that is still watching a ton of TV, still watching hours of TV every single day. So while regular TV has kind of declined a bit, the avatar that we're going after is still watching a lot of TV and has not really gone to streaming. Okay, so what are most real estate investors doing? Okay, I'm gonna cover these channels and compare it to TV a little bit. So cold calling, you have to, it's such a numbers game. You have to get in front of 50 to 100 people in order for you to get a deal, which means that if you're comping properties, like when someone says, I want to sell my house, which most of those are not very serious because you're catching them, at a weird time. And they're like, yeah, maybe I'll sell my house if you give me the right price. And it's just a lot of work to get to a good, solid lead, right? So cold calling, while it can be a low cost, low entry, low barrier marketing channel, it just takes a lot of time and effort. And I'm going to give you an example later today when someone went from cold calling 100% to TV 100%, how it just dramatically changed their life. Direct mail, a lot of competition. When we get a direct mail call, typically it's because we're on TV, and they'll literally have a stack of postcards, and they'll say, we called you and only you because you're on TV. And literally it could be like anywhere from 10 to 30 postcards they have a stack of that they've gotten, because when someone gets on a list, everybody is mailing them, right? And there's just a ton of competition over the years, and it's one of those that it's not the lowest barrier of entry, but tomorrow you could buy a list, hire a direct mail company, and start sending direct mail out pretty quickly. So a lot of people are doing it. And then Google PPC, get a lot of competition there. You have to call them back right away, because if they're filling out a form for you, they're probably filling out 2 to 3 other forms, right? Not only that, but Google changed their algorithm not too long ago, and I've heard of a lot of people that depended on Google PPC that literally they went from like crushing it with PPC to all of a sudden they're scrambling trying to find other marketing channels, right? And then PPL. PPL is a great lead source, but costs are rising. I remember back in the day when we could buy leads for $50. Now it's a minimum of $250 in most markets. And the quality has gone down. And I don't want to bash PPL companies, but I think they've figured out a way to find other not as motivated leads to get into their system so they can charge more money. And the quality is just lower. I've heard a lot of people say that, even leads have come in that they contact them and they're like, I'm not selling my house, or I filled out a form weeks ago or months ago or something like that. And those leads are coming in, right? And so PPL quality is going down, costs are rising. And because of all of these things, because of the amount of time it takes for some of them, because of the competition, because of the lead quality, I feel like TV is by far more superior than any of these marketing channels. So who's TV for? Like I kind of mentioned a little bit earlier, if someone's doing 1 to 2 plus deals a month and they're ready to scale, that's typically a good time for someone to start. If they're doing more than that, the good time to start would have been probably before, but there's never a bad time to start. The time to start typically is now. It's kind of like when someone says, when should I invest in real estate? Now. When should I do TV? Probably now, right? And so, again, if you've got marketing channels already going, this is only going to make your marketing channel better. If you're tired of grinding with low quality leads, as I talked about, want higher quality leads, if you need exclusive marketing that competitors can't really copy, they can copy a little bit of what you have in your TV commercial, but if you buy the ads right, you buy them in the right spots, and you're able to buy at steep discounts like we do, it's really hard for investors to compete. We've had many people come to us and say, we tried TV on our own, or we tried it with someone else or whatever, and we'll get their schedules, and we can usually get them 2, 3, 4 times as many commercials for the exact same ad spend. We actually had I can't remember if I put it on the slide later. We have a client in Indiana I met at a Ryan Pineda's event, and he's like, oh, I'm already doing TV. And I'm like, okay, cool. Do you mind showing me your schedule? I'd like to see what you're doing. He was literally getting, for $5,000 a month, this is a small market, he was getting 50 commercials a month. And we're like, we're going to completely blow that out of the water. So we went to the reps in that market, and we were able to get him 500 commercials a month. So, if you're looking at competition, and you're looking at people that are already doing TV in your market, that doesn't mean they're doing it right. That doesn't mean they're going to stick around for a long time, because a lot of people don't know how to do TV, and they're not going to get the returns that someone who knows what they're doing is going to get. And if you have the budget and mindset to grow faster and easier, it's not a huge budget, but it is a commitment. Cold calling, texting, you could probably get away with a couple, $3,000 a month. But with TV, obviously there's going to be a little bit of a bigger commitment. It's not a huge commitment, but it is a bigger commitment.
Tony, what's the deal with kind of the strategy behind TV? So you have and maybe this is a really silly question, because I could probably come to a logical conclusion on this. I'm sure it depends, but I'm sure part of it's the number of times you show up, but also how much of that depends on when, the time of the day. Is that a heavy determiner on?
Yeah, that's a really good question. There's a lot to it. So first of all, it's the right message, right? So you got to have the right message. I can't tell you how many commercials that I've seen where there's not a good call to action, there's not a good website, there's not an easy to remember phone number. There's a lot of different variables that go into it. Shows that you're on are very important, because for instance, when someone comes to us and they show us a schedule for when they bought themselves or they bought with another agency, we'll look at it and be like, that's a higher income demographic, right? If you're buying 5 p.m. news, 10 p.m., a lot of the news channels or a lot of the news times, those are typically a higher demographic and higher cost. I'd say probably more higher cost, but a little bit more higher demographic, but definitely higher cost spots that aren't going to get you as much. So what we like to focus on is those spots that our demographic is watching. And luckily, what our demographic is watching is low income and older, which a lot of people aren't wanting to go after, right? I mean, how many businesses do you know that want to go after people that don't have a lot of money? There's not that many. There's not that many of those. And then frequency, like. So frequency is two things. Frequency is how frequent in a month that you're being seen, but also how frequent over a period of time. Because, someone who sees you today may want to sell 12 months from now. Well, if you run your TV commercials for 10 months and then all of a sudden you stop, they still may remember you in their mind, but then month 12, if you're not in front of them when they're ready to sell, then you're going to miss out on that deal. So there's a lot of different variables that go into it.
Yeah, so you have to kind of find like a happy medium between like when and how often you're showing up.
Yeah, and there's a diminishing return, obviously, right? I mean, we've tested so many different, different types of ad spend that typically when we go into a market, we can say, okay, you need to spend a minimum of this. Here's your maximum. So we recommend either starting at the minimum or a little bit higher, and then just seeing where that sweet spot is.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting how like in a way it's like similar to direct mail where like you expect inbound activity like pretty quick, or at least that's like your expectation. But then there's also like an aspect that's similar to like a pay per click situation, right? Where you're almost like fighting for, position of like where the ad shows up and everything. It's kind of an interesting hybrid there. And then you're right too, like the other thing that comes to mind is like the whole authority that it builds really quickly. Because there's something about it where it's like you see somebody on TV and like you don't know a thing about the company, you don't know a thing about the person, but all of a sudden like you have this association with like, oh, like that person was on TV, like clearly they're at some level of success, like they have some position that, if somebody just called you out of the blue, you're like, who's this guy, It's
Yeah,
just
we
like,
just had we just had one of our clients on the Disruptors podcast, and he was telling his story about how he found us, and he was actually on the verge of bankruptcy. He was doing pretty well overall. He was with Homevestors franchise, and just blew through a bunch of money with them, and kind of started disconnecting from them. Came to us, and we got him on TV, and he said like literally month one, he started getting people saying, I called you because I trust you because you're on TV and I know you've got the money to be on TV and all these things. So it's like instant credibility. It's kind of like when this is a little bit of a different example, but like you didn't know the Kardashians before the Kardashians got on TV, and then all of a sudden they get on TV and they just blow up into fame, right? I mean, it's a little bit different, but it's kind of the same concept where you just see someone on TV and you get to know them, whether it's a reality show or a TV commercial, and people just start to trust you.
sure.
Yeah.
Tony, what about like the multiplier effect? Like, do you find that there's certain marketing channels that this is like paired with really effectively? I mean, you brought up the example of direct mail a second ago. Are there specific marketing channels that work really, really well as like a complement to TV?
Yeah, 100%. I think I have this a little bit later in the presentation, but yeah, so almost every marketing channel. So we have a lot of people that when they call our TV, or what they call, let's say off a radio, they say they saw our TV commercial or vice versa. So TV and radio, we feel like pair really well together. We actually help clients with radio as well. Direct mail, as I mentioned, you send out a direct mail piece, you're going to stick out from the competition because you're on TV, and most of the other people that send direct mail are not. Billboards, and I would say billboards help TV more than TV helps billboards, but those kind of correlate and go together pretty well. But really any marketing channel, even cold calling. So I when we coach our clients on how to work TV leads, one of the things that we talk about is if you're texting or cold calling, you don't necessarily want to tell them out of the gate who you are, because they'll maybe leave you a bad review if they feel like you're spamming them or whatever. And so once they're warmed up and they're a good qualified lead, at that point be like, oh, by the way, we're professional home buyers. You've seen our TV commercial, right? And that's worked very well with some of our clients, warming them up even more, because now it's not just I'm calling you out of the blue. It's, oh, I'm also on TV, so I'm credible. So it pretty much can amplify any of your marketing. And that's why I feel like, and there's a graphic on our website that shows it pretty well, that like TV should be in the middle of your marketing strategy. And then everything else just kind of is around it that TV helps supplement. So it's kind of hard sometimes when people say, man, we're only getting, let's say, a 3 times return on our investment, right? Which to me is still not that bad. But then there's also a lot of leads that come in through PPC that are counted as PPC. There are, they come in from other directions where they can't actually correlate them to TV. But then also, like if you get a direct mail deal because of TV, and it's really hard to allocate. Like we have this happen all the time where my team will send me a deal. We just got under contract, and they'll be like, they called us from the postcard, but they also mentioned the TV commercial. And so we try and give credit to the one that actually made them call, but then we don't give credit to TV because they didn't actually call from TV, but TV actually really helped, right? So it's kind of hard to quantify that, but I don't know if I answered your question there.
Yeah, you did. I mean, and that makes sense, right? It's kind of like a multiplier effect, right? It creates. I mean, I'll just go back to what I said, right? It just like kind of creates an authority, a validation in the person's mind. They're like, oh, okay, like yeah, I got this mail. I also saw these guys on TV. Like all the call to action is going to be on the piece of mail, right? Because maybe it's just easier to engage with. And I actually can't wait till you get to the streaming stuff because I have a couple questions on that. But like last question, sorry to keep pulling you off track here, but how did you how did you go from flipping houses to like, yeah, I'm gonna go buy some media? Like, what was the what was the draw into this space? I don't think I've ever asked you that question.
Yeah, I'll tell you the story here in a little bit. I think that's here in a
Fun.
couple slides. Yeah.
All right, do your thing.
All right, cool. Yeah, so here's my background a little bit just to kind of get to know me a little bit better. I started flipping houses 25 years ago. 9/11 is actually right about when I closed on my first 2 houses. So it's kind of been an interesting time where we just didn't know what was going to happen. Since then, so Professional Home Buyers is the main company. Strategic Workspace, I own co-working space. I also have venue space I didn't put on here. Real Estate Masters is kind of our educational and coaching business. And then 10X TV is the media brand. And we were talking airplanes before we got on here. That's the airplane I bought back in 2022 and started flying. I haven't flown in a little bit, but that's one of the passions of mine is flying. And I'm actually, my airplane is in San Diego right now. That's one of the reasons that I haven't been flying, and I've had some health stuff going on, but I'm actually bringing it into Boise. I forgot to mention that when we were talking earlier. Next month, I believe, and then hopefully I'll start flying again later this year. So just a little about me there. Sorry, I lost my cursor here. Give me just a second. Man, I got 2 screens here. My cursor just left me. All right, there it is. All right, cool. And then also we're on the Inc. 5000 list of fastest growing companies. So Professional Home Buyers was on that list twice, and 10X TV was on that list just recently because we just now qualified. I think you have to be in business for like 5 years or something like that, and we just hit that mark last year. So pretty proud of that accomplishment of being able to be on one of the 5,000 companies in the U.S. that makes that list every year.
Nice.
A little background: 2001 Bart Carlton Sheets No Down Payment System. Are you old enough to remember that, Jared?
No, I'm not familiar with that name.
Yeah, so he was one of the top. I think him and Ron LeGrand, who actually ended up being a client, him and Ron LeGrand are one of the 2 original OGs in the space that taught people how to invest in real estate. And ironically, he did it through TV commercials. So I actually found Carlton Sheets through a TV commercial, and that's how I got into the business. So I grew the business for 9 years, and 2010, I just hit rock bottom. And it was one of those things where I just built the business. I was doing things the hard way. I was hiring the wrong people. I was maybe not doing quite the right marketing channels. I didn't have systems in place. And I had to make some changes. And I hired my sister on board in 2010, started working smarter. And so working smarter is not just, again, working smarter in the business, but it's also making decisions like marketing and things of that nature that really have leverage. So to me, the big thing that I love about real estate is leverage. And then when you get into your business, you need to look at what can leverage you, which is people, systems, and the right marketing channels. So luckily in 2012, I discovered TV commercials. I think I have that slide here where I'm going to tell the story here in a minute. And then 2014, because of me hitting rock bottom, I had to make some massive changes. So anytime that people have struggles in their business, just remember that number one, it's temporary. And number two, there's a lot of great things that can come out of struggles in your business. And that made me figure out how to work smarter, hired my sister because I was so sick of people not showing up and stealing and doing all the things that they were doing before. And then I found a coach and eventually found masterminds, which encouraged me to have a business that ran without me. So 2014, I was able to move from Wichita, Kansas to San Diego, and then just recently moved to Boise. And then 2010 is when I started helping real estate investors with TV commercials. So here's the story. So you mentioned how did I get into TV? So in 2010, no, I'm sorry, it was the end of 2009. No, 2000, yeah, it was 2010. I was actually sick and wasn't supposed to go to this networking event. And someone called me and they're like, just go, you need to go. And so I ended up going to this networking event. And I'm telling the story because it's interesting how one thing can just lead to so many other things. And so I met this guy named Brian. And Brian was very outgoing and I was, very introverted. And he was young. I was a little bit older than him, been in the business longer. And anyway, he got my phone number and he just kept following up with me. So eventually we became friends and I started to mentor him. And then one day he calls me a couple years later in 2012 and he says, hey, I've got this guy, Cody, that I just met. And he met him randomly as well. There's a whole story behind that I won't get into. And he invites me to this poker game. So I go, I walk into Cody's house, go down into his basement. He's got these 2 card tables. And I look across the room and there's these 2 guys that I recognized. And I'm like, oh, shoot, those guys are on TV. They both individually had TV commercials separate from each other. And so we get to our tables and I purposely sat next to Chad, one of the guys that was on TV. And I said, hey, Chad, cool TV commercial I see on TV all the time. And he looks at me and he goes, dude, those TV commercials just absolutely crush it for us. And I expected if he would have said anything that he would have said, it's just branding, right? We just do it for branding. But he lit up and he was like, we are on like a 6 to 12 month waiting list constantly. We do millions of dollars of business just from those TV commercials. And that's all the marketing we do. And I'm like, that's interesting. So I start telling him about my business and he goes, you know what? I don't know if it'd be good for your business or not, but here's my media guy, Drew. Why don't you call him? So Monday morning, first thing, I called Drew and I said, hey, talk to Chad this weekend. He said, you're the TV guy. Tell me about TV. So I tell him about my business. And he's like, give me about a week. He's like, I'm going to go to the stations. I'm going to negotiate some rates for you. I'll bring you back a schedule. If you like the schedule, great, you can move forward. But if not, no harm, no foul, So he calls me a week later and he goes, good news. He's like, I think your demographic is really good for this because we can get some really inexpensive commercials. He's like, for $3,000, we can get hundreds of commercials a month. So back in 2005, so I said that I wish I would have started TV commercials sooner. I actually technically did. In 2005, I had this hunch that I maybe should check out TV. So I called NBC. I called one of the stations, and they quoted me. I think it was either $3,000 or $5,000 for like 30 to 50 commercials. Like it wasn't much at all. So I ended up running that for 3 months. It did nothing. So when he came back to me and he's like, you can get hundreds of commercials for $3,000. I'm like, holy crap, that's like a small direct mail piece. So I'm like, let's give it a shot. So as I mentioned earlier, I spent $3,000 my first month and, made over $30,000 and just have been crushing it since then. It's been our number 1 lead channel every single year. It does more than any other marketing channel. It's just a game changer. And so fast forward to 2020, COVID hits. And I start this mastermind. And again, a lot of things, like I mentioned earlier, like masterminds have just been something that just so many great things have come out of those. I was in a mastermind I was hosting, and one of the guys said multiple times, like, you should show people what you're doing. And I'm like, I don't really care to do that. And so eventually, after he hammered me every single mastermind meeting for like 3 or 4 months, I called my media guy, Drew, and I said, hey, if I show people what I'm doing, could we partner on this? And then, you can do the media production, we can do the education and, the implementation. We could work on this together. And so I called about 10 different investors that I knew. 8 of them said, yes, let's go, which I was really surprised that they like jumped on board that quickly. And I think 6 are still running almost 6 years later.
Nice.
And I thought that maybe I was an anomaly, that like it crushed it out of the gate for me and then it just did all these things for me. I didn't know what it was going to do for others, but literally almost every single one of them did the exact same thing. Month 1, they were getting deals. They were just crushing it right out of the gate, and it just totally blew up their business. So that's how TV started, and that's why we are where we are today.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So just a few examples I'll just show you real quick. John Blackburn, he'd been in the business for 15 years at this point when he got on board with us. 128 calls in the first 30 days. He said not one of them was really a bad call. Ryan Rice, 25-year-old, he did 50 deals his first year, and a lot of that had to do with TV. I think he came to us kind of the beginning of his first year, and at the point that I talked to him, this is a video on our website, he was getting a 17.5 return on investment. Ashley and Josh Hines, good friends of mine, 7 contracts in the first 6 weeks. And when I interviewed them, they were going to net 13 to 15 grand per contract. So a little over $100,000 estimated in the first 6 weeks.
Bang.
Dean Rogers, this is a cool one. Do you know Dean, Jared?
I know that name. I don't think I've ever met Dean though.
Are you in Family Mastermind?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No.
So Dean's a good friend of mine. He was one of the ones that I called 6 years ago when I started this. Not only did he do $500,000 in assignments in his first year from TV, from like a $70,000 ad spend, I believe. But when he started his RIA group, it wasn't getting much traction. Right after he launched his commercials, people started coming to him more because they recognized him from TV. And a year after he started his TV commercials, the next full year, he did over $1 million worth of assignment fees with his students from the RIA group. And he attributes the success of the RIA group from TV commercials as well.
Amazing.
So this is one of those things, again, you can't really quantify. I mean, you kind of can in a way, but like TV does what it does. But if you have private money that you're raising, people find you credible. If you're in a RIA group, people find you more credible. When you talk to contractors, they find you more credible. It just shows like not only can you get direct return on investment, but there's a lot of indirect return on investment as well.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I just got a ton of these. I mean, a couple that I'll point out. Is it on this slide here? Maybe it's on the next one. Yeah, the bottom right. So many of our clients have done $100,000 assignments. Like, I don't know about you, but I don't know too many people that have done $100,000 assignments, but I've seen more through TV than, actually, I don't even know if I've seen really many others from other channels. And I think a lot of it has to do with lack of competition. So when those clients are the ones that are going to the house, they are typically the only one, and they're able to lock up steeper discounts.
Interesting.
Yeah. So again, I could go on and on with all these testimonials and text messages and Facebook posts that they put in our community, but yeah, I think you kind of get the point there. So now I want to touch on real quick our demographic. So this is a study or survey, adults 50 plus, household income less than 100,000, which is our avatar, and homes valued less than 300K. Ask them lots of different questions. How many of them watch TV? And that 97% said that they watched TV within, I think it was the last 7 days. And then going to the next slide, how much TV did you watch? So, and then also all these other things, surfing the internet, social media and all those things. But most people spent most time with TV. And they reported that they watched 2 hours and 20 minutes a day. Now, I don't know about you. This is, again, self-reporting. But it's kind of like when you're on your phone. Like, I don't know if you've looked at your screen time, but you're like, oh, I'm probably on my phone 2 hours a day. And then you go look and you're on it like 5 to 6 hours a day. So I think it's like the same thing with TV. People probably said they were on, watch TV for 2 hours or 3 hours, but chances are they probably watch 4 or 5 or whatever it is. So this just shows that people are still watching a lot of TV. And this is a cool one here too, is they asked them the question, when you went online, what made you go online and search for something? And the number one thing that people said was 47% of the people said that TV got them to search online. Which is a good and bad thing, right? Because when clients come to us again and they say, I want my return on investment to be higher, we try and dig in with them and say, okay, when you started your TV, how did your SEO do? Like, did it start? And in fact, I had a client that wanted to cancel one time. This was like 4 years ago. He's like, and I was like, can you show me your numbers? And he sends me I wanted him to send me his TV numbers. He sends me the dashboard of his whole company. And SEO was making over $100,000 a month. And I'm like, I don't know too many people that are making over $100,000 a month in SEO. And he swore that it was from SEO.
Yeah.
So he cancels. And I said, do me a favor. I said, I will reach out to you in 90 days. But if something happens before that 90 days, reach out to me. Because I promise you, you're not going to be making over $100,000 a month from SEO once you stop TV. Long story short, it was somewhere between 60 and 90 days, he calls me up. He's like, our SEO just tanked. And so he came back on board 4 years later. He's now spending like 3 to 4 times as much money as he was back 4 years ago. He's also doing, I think, radio and billboards and a bunch of other stuff that we're helping with him with as well. So I got off on a tangent there, but this just shows the power of TV. A lot of people are watching TV. It's triggering them to go online and search. It's just doing a lot of powerful things. So top benefits of TV for real estate investors. Again, you probably know some of these. I'll just kind of go through them really quickly. A celebrity and trust factor. We already talked about this. Literally instant celebrity status. Little to no competition because of the things that I told you before. People think it's too expensive. They think they have to be a big brand. There's a lot of pieces to the puzzle that you have to put together to be good with TV. Whereas if, tomorrow you can listen to a podcast, someone can tell you how to text or cold call, you can pull a list and literally start tomorrow, right? With TV, it just takes longer. And for that reason, I feel like there's less competition. Talked about return on investment, but for me, I talked about leverage earlier. I am big on return on time. I want to be able to put a little bit in and get a lot out. And if I'm putting a lot in, that I want to get way more out, right? TV is one of those things, once you set it up right, that it is going to produce for you in the background, and you're not going to have to manage texters, you're not going to manage cold callers, you're not have to figure out what direct mail piece you want to send out every month, you're not going to have to meet with your PPC guy to change keywords all the time. Once you get it set up and get it set up right, it typically runs for a long period of time. Dean Rogers, who I mentioned earlier, I think he is still running the exact same commercial he started with 5 years ago. We gave him a great commercial. We probably tweaked, some of his, schedules and things of that nature, but we got it set up right. And still 5 years later, same commercial running in the background. He hasn't had to do a lot. High quality leads because people respect you because you're on TV. They're not just going to call you to kick tires. I'm not saying you're never going to get tire kickers, but the tire kickers you're going to get are few and far between compared to a lot of the other marketing channels. Helps all other forms of marketing. I think you helped me allude to that earlier. It's going to help everything. It's going to help direct mail. It's going to help radio. It's going to help you raise money. I kind of touched on that earlier, but we actually had an investor call us one time from our TV commercial. No, actually, they walked into our building. So they saw our TV commercial. They walked into our building. They said, hey, I saw you on TV, and I'm wanting to invest in real estate, but I don't really want to buy properties. Do you have anything else? Yeah, we have this thing called private money lending. Long story short, within 12 months, him and his parents have over $1 million invested with us and have done millions and millions of dollars in transactions with us. And every time that I talk to an investor in Wichita, Kansas, that people refer me to, one of the first things they say is, "Oh yeah, I know who you are. I've seen you on TV." And the conversation is just super easy. And I don't think I've ever had one of those not invest with us.
Nice.
Close deals easier, again, because your celebrity status, when you go into their living room, they're more likely to trust you, which is going to get you across the finish line faster, right? Not only that, but hopefully you're the only one there. We have a lot of our clients that say the same thing that we've seen, is that when people call us, we're hitting them at the right time, maybe before they're getting on all these lists. They're calling us and we're the only one to go to that appointment, which gets us not only helps us to close deals easier, but also get bigger discounts, which interviewing a lot of our clients, they're seeing that their profit per deal from TV is higher than usually any other channel, right? And so, you just make more money with TV. And then, as I mentioned, it hits our demographic of 50 plus and lower income. So it makes it not only a great channel to produce celebrity status, but it's also hitting the people that we want to do business with, right? We kind of already talked about this. So I'll kind of run through these here real quick. Oh, go back. But yeah, it complements all the other marketing channels. I said I would talk about AI and OTT a little bit and billboards. So people ask, when should I be ready for billboards? A lot of people throughout my career have said, I want to try billboards. And when I ask them what other marketing they're doing, almost 9 times out of 10, I'm like, you're not ready for billboards. Billboards are one of those things that do not directly produce a lot of business. We have a tracking phone number on our billboards, and we get maybe a deal a year, maybe 2 deals a year from billboards, which pays for a good amount of our marketing spend. But if you're looking for a 3 times return on investment, like most people are from other marketing channels, you don't want to do billboards until you're probably doing TV and or radio. To me, those are the trifecta. When you're doing TV, radio, and then people are driving, they see you on a billboard, those work really well together. OTT, what questions did you have about OTT, Jared, before I kind of jump into that? I'm kind of curious what your questions are and what your perception is. And when I say OTT, that's streaming. What questions do you have behind that?
My question is really just an effectiveness thing, right? Because like you see these commercials that like are running, you go watch a Netflix show, or not even Netflix show, but like Amazon Prime, right? And they've got the little QR code you can scan like right there. That's pretty cool. Like that's a nice way to have like a call to action. So just wondering on the effectiveness of that, like if you have seen extra success or maybe it's a little fluffy right now.
Yeah, so it's kind of like billboards in a way where it's not something you want to do to provide direct response, right? We have tried that ourselves. We've had other clients that have wanted to try that, and we've tried it as a standalone. And I think we had one client that did pretty well with it, but for the most part, it's not as proven as regular TV. And what I mean by proven is there's not as much longevity. There's still not as much trust factor because regular TV, people still view regular TV as credible. Whereas online, there's just a lot of online stuff that just doesn't look as credible, which makes your commercial not look as credible. So what I say is, if people want to take a little bit of their budget that they have on TV and put it to OTT, they can do that, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a month. But I definitely, if someone comes to us and is like, hey, someone told me I need to do streaming, I'm like, who told you that? And of course, it's going to be the person that makes a bunch of money on the streaming platform. So we can help people with the streaming platforms. We don't make a lot of money on it, which is not why we don't do it, but it's not proven. When they say they'll get you, 10,000 impressions in a month, like they'll tell you where they think they're going to be able to give that to you. But like, for instance, we have a lot of our clients that will say, hey, someone called me. They said we can do these online ads. We can target zip codes. We can target age. We can target all these things. But think about it. There's usually 3, 4, 5 people in a home at any given time. You can't target the exact same person exact person that's watching TV at that time, that's at that age that you want, and all of those things, right? So we call it the Wild West right now, where it's just not as proven. There's not as much, like when you get on TV, we give you a schedule, and 99% of the time you are going to be on the exact same times and shows that we promise you. And we get a report afterwards that shows that you aired on those days and times, because there's a software that does that. With streaming, unfortunately, they don't really have that. They just say, here's this demographic we're going to hit. Here's how many impressions you're going to get. And you don't really know if you're getting that or not. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. All right, cool. So you have to ask yourself, like, would you rather have inbound leads calling you, or would you rather be reaching out to them, right? When people call you, they're asking you to do business with them, as opposed to you going out and asking them to do business with you. Also, would you rather get treated like a celebrity, or would you rather have to try to convince sellers to work with you because they have no idea who you are, and you have to break down that barrier with them, right? Would you rather convert 1 in 5 to 1 in 10 leads to get a deal, which is typically what TV does? Or would you rather go through 20, maybe even up to 100 leads in order to get a deal? Also, would you rather compete with 5 other investors with PPC, direct mail, and all those other marketing methods where people are just hammering those lists? Or would you rather be the only one the seller calls, which makes it more likely to get that deal and more likely for you to get more of a discount on that deal? So again, I've talked about leverage, like you can do things the hard way, or you can do things the easier way. And I really, really, really feel like, and I know that TV is just a much easier way to do business, right? So if you guys want to get out your phone, if you guys want to dominate your market, get leads that no one else is getting, and get celebrity status with your sellers, book a call with us. It's pretty simple. Right now, we're managing accounts for over 100 real estate investors. We're managing over $1.5 million a month in ad spend, and we've got it dialed in, right? So what you'll get with us basically is all the guesswork, taking all the guesswork out of what you need to do to get on TV. We've got the scripts that we have proven over the years. So when I launched this company back in 2010, we had 8 years worth of data where I would change the TV commercial. I would do different tone inflections. I would do different scripting, and we could kind of see where things were at. And we could also change the schedules to see where the best placements were, where we could get the best return on investment, and really optimize it to where when we launched this in 2010, that we had really good data to get our clients the chance of winning. And now 5 years later, and over $10 million worth of ad spend later, we have even more data. So we're able to optimize it even more for you. We're able to produce the commercial. We have a great community of real estate investors as well. When like I said earlier, when I said, what are the top, or when someone asks, what are the top things that you would do going back now that you know what you know, it's TV, usually in masterminds. And so we actually have a mastermind community within our TV group where investors come on, not just to talk about TV and what's working and not working and what they can do to help amplify TV, but what they can do to help amplify their businesses. And I love bringing these communities together to pour into them and show them how they can get their business running without them. And it has to do with, again, making smarter decisions, which one of them is TV. So if you want a great community as well to plug into, our investors are probably doing an average somewhere between 50 to 100 deals a year. We have some clients doing well over 100 deals a year. We have some clients spending over $100,000 a month on TV, which means that they know what they're doing, they're dialed in, they have their systems together. So not only will you be able to get direct results from TV, but plug into our community as well and be able to piggyback off of the things that they're doing. So if you scan that QR code or go to 10xtv.co, just book a call with us. Yeah, just book a call with us and we'll go through your market. We do have limited spots per market, so just make sure that you book as soon as you can because we do sell out on a lot of spots. And so I wanted to turn to this real quick before I wrap up here. This is Rick Howell. He has a really cool story. So about 2 years ago, he reached out to us, and he was reaching out to us about something else. I can't even remember what it was. I think we were in a mastermind together or something, and we were talking about collaboration. And he's like, TV, that's interesting. He's like, you know what? I'll do that. And so literally just right then, he's like, he signed up and we got him on TV within, 30, 40 days. And he was texting and cold calling. He had, I think, 3 people texting and cold calling. And then he had one person hired just to analyze the deals from the texters and cold callers. And then him and his son were going out and doing acquisitions and doing the deals. Once he got on TV, he saw how easy the leads were coming in. And instead of going through, again, 50 to 100 leads to get a deal, I think he's at like somewhere between 1 in 5 and 1 in 10. I'm not sure what his numbers are. And he literally fired all 5 of those people. And he said, not only is it a lot easier to do business now, but we're making more money. We're more credible in our market. He actually has a RIA meeting as well that he runs, I think, on a monthly basis. And he's one of those that I just love to turn to because his story is so cool, and he's such a good dude. You've probably seen him on some podcasts as well. So if you guys are doing things that are hard, like texting and cold calling, just figure out how to do things easier, like Rick did. And he was working like 60-hour weeks. Now he's like, I'm working 30-hour weeks and getting just as many deals, if not more, because I'm working smarter with TV. Let's see if I have anything else here. Yeah, this is our website to go to. You'll just fill out a form, book a call with us, and let's see how we can change the game for you. And Jared, I'm sure you have some questions you can throw at me, and I'd love to see if there's anything else that I can answer for you.
Nah, man, you did a nice job with this presentation. I mean, you kind of answered everything that was top of mind for me. I mean, I am definitely one of those people that fell in the camp before we got to know each other of like, oh yeah, TV is kind of like it's at arm's length, right? It's pretty hard to get into. But there's a lot of opportunity, at the end of the day of getting in there. Um, no, man, I mean, Lynn, my last question was how do people get in contact with you? But you got the QR code here, and I'll make sure I share that with everybody, um, in the form of a comment down below. Anything else that you want to share with our community around TV?
Now, just, like I mentioned with the guy that I met at that networking event when I almost didn't go to it, if I wouldn't have met him, I wouldn't have met Chad, which introduced me to Drew, which got me on TV. And it's just one of those things, one of those decisions that you make that totally changes the trajectory of your life. So not only did it change the trajectory of, I mean, think about this. This is like the butterfly effect, like compounded. If I wouldn't have gone through all that, I wouldn't have gotten on TV. I may not even potentially be in business in real estate today because of all the other marketing channels that kind of were so up and down. And now we have hundreds of real estate investors that we've helped with TV that have made a huge impact on them. So what I'm trying to get to is like TV can do that same thing for you. It's like that one extra thing that you could do to amplify your business that can completely change the game. I feel like TV is one of those things that you have to do if you're doing deals, if you can handle the leads, you can commit to an ad spend and just do what you need to do to make this happen. It may not be right for everybody, but at the very least, you can book a call with us. We can show you kind of the map of where your TV market reaches and just see if it's worthwhile. I think it's definitely worth a conversation with us to have.
Yeah, I will note too that you guys are really easy, bunch of good human beings to deal with.
Appreciate
Gotten the
that.
chance to know Noah on your team as well, so easy to get along with. Should definitely book a call because they will also shoot you straight. They'll shoot you straight one way or the other. So good folks.
Cool, man. I appreciate it, Jared. Thanks for having me on here.
Brother man, thanks so much for coming. Appreciate you. Cheers.
Yep. See ya.